I watched the clip again, not because I want to, but because I need to remember exactly how it felt when the knife went in. Kasia stands on the rain-slicked steps of the Justice Department, her face tilted just so, catching the light. She's crying, real tears, the kind that don't smear her makeup. The caption below the video reads, "Special Prosecutor Kasia Monroe puts family loyalty aside in the name of justice." Bullshit, I mutter, pausing the frame on her trembling lower lip. That tremble was practiced. I've seen her rehearse it in the bathroom mirror before fundraisers. I lean back in my chair, the cheap wood creaking under me. My office now is a rented desk in a co-working space above a laundromat in Northeast DC. A far cry from the Georgetown townhouse I used to share with the woman in the video. Today, I'm about to send the email that burns her world down. But first, I need to remember why I'm doing it. I need to go back to the beginning, back to the $200. It wasn't raining then. It was a Tuesday, bright and stupidly cheerful, the kind of spring day that makes you believe in bullshit like public service and the rule of law. I was pulling into my parents' driveway in Ashland, Virginia, when I saw the SUVs. 3 of them, government plates. My stomach dropped before my brain even caught up. 2 FBI agents were already on the porch. My mother was standing in the doorway, her hand over her mouth. And there was Kasia leaning against her black Suburban, wearing a charcoal pantsuit that probably cost more than my first car. She wasn't crying yet. She was watching the house with the detached interest of a scientist observing a lab rat. I slammed my car door. "What the hell is this, Kasia?" She turned, her expression shifting instantly into one of professional regret. "Alaric, I told you this was coming. I asked you to prepare your father." "Prepare him for what? A goddamn arrest?" I shoved past her, but she stepped into my path, her palm hitting my chest, firm and unyielding. I could smell her perfume, something expensive and sharp, like power and cold steel. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," she said, her voice low enough that only I could hear. Her eyes, though, were scanning the street. She knew the local news crews would be here any minute. She'd tipped them off herself. Inside, they had my father, Edmund Quinn, in the living room. He was still in his khakis and a sweater vest, looking smaller than his 65 years. His hands were shaking, but his chin was up. He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Shame, not guilt. Shame that his son had to see him like this. "Dad," I started, but one of the agents, a younger guy with a crew cut, stepped forward. "Sir, we're going to need you to turn around." "For $200? I shouted, rounding on Kasia. "You're putting cuffs on a man who's been mayor for 20 years over a $200 donation to the goddamn PDA?" Kasia's jaw tightened. She hated it when I raised my voice. It wasn't a donation, Alaric. It was an unreceipted cash transfer used to influence a municipal advertising contract. It's a violation of federal statutes regarding honest services fraud. It was for pizza for the city crew during the homecoming game. I was breathing hard, my fists clenched. The receipt got lost. Dad put the $200 back out of his own pocket. "The paper trail says otherwise," she said, her tone icy. "And the witness, Coach Hendricks, has corroborated the intent to defraud." That's when I realized she'd flipped the high school football coach, a man my father had known for 30 years. "You threatened him, didn't you? Or did you just promise him a grant for the new field house if he played ball?" Kasia didn't answer. She didn't have to. She just gave a slight nod to the lead agent. They grabbed Dad's arms. He didn't resist, but he winced as the metal bit into his wrists. My mother let out a choked sob. "Kasia, please," I said, the fight draining out of me. I grabbed her arm, feeling the silk of her sleeve. "He's done nothing but serve this town. He's your father-in-law. Don't do this." She looked at my hand on her arm, then up at my face. For a split second, I thought I saw a crack in the armor. Then it was gone. She smoothed her sleeve and stepped back, already shifting her gaze to the window where the news vans were pulling up. "I love this family," she said, her voice suddenly louder, projecting for the microphones she knew were listening. She reached out, as if to comfort me, but her touch was cold. "But I love Alon more. There can be no sacred cows, not even in my own home." She turned toward the door, then paused, looking back at me with a look that was pure calculation. "If you interfere with this investigation, Alaric, I will expand it. I will look into everyone, including you. Is that what you want? To drag your mother and your brother through this too?" That was the threat, the real one. It wasn't about the law. It was about leverage. She was using my father's freedom to buy my silence. They walked him out. I followed, my legs feeling like lead. The neighbors were watching from behind curtains. Cameras flashed, as they pushed him into the back of the SUV. Kasia walked out right behind them, her hair perfect, her eyes already welling up. She paused at the podium they'd set up. She brought a goddamn podium and looked directly into the lens. "Today is a difficult day," she said, her voice breaking perfectly on the word difficult. A tear tracked down her cheek. "But justice is not meant to be easy. I took an oath, and I will uphold it, even when it hurts those I hold most dear." I stood there in the yard, the grass prickling my ankles, and watched her perform. My wife, the justice goddess, and I realized, standing there as the engines of the SUVs roared to life, that I had just witnessed the launch of a political career built on the bones of my father's dignity. The next time I saw Dad was at the detention center. We sat across from each other at a scarred metal table. He looked older, his skin sallow under the fluorescent lights. He was shuffling a deck of cards, not looking at me. "You shouldn't have come down here, Ricky," he said, using my childhood nickname. His voice was hoarse. "It's a long drive for bad news." "I had to see you," I said. "Dad, we're fighting this. I've got a lawyer looking at the discovery. Cash's office is playing dirty, but we can beat this. We can prove the money was reimbursed." He finally looked up, his eyes bloodshot. He shook his head slowly. "It's over, son." I took the plea. The air left my lungs. "What?" "No, Dad. You didn't plead guilty. You didn't do anything wrong. I did what I had to do," he said, his voice flat. He leaned forward, his cuffed hands resting on the table. "Cash's people. They came to see me last night, before the arraignment. That young prosecutor, the one with the mean streak, she showed me the file on Coach Hendricks. They're charging him with tax evasion on some old side business. They said if I didn't take the deal, 18 months, no trial. They'd bury him so deep he'd never see his kids graduate." And then she looked at me and said, if I forced a trial, they'd start looking into your finances, Alaric. Your sources, your stories. They'd come for you next. He tapped the table, a dull thud. "I've lived a good life. I got my pension, my guard, and your mom. I could do 18 months. I can't watch them destroy you to prove a point. She's not after justice, Ricky. She's after promotion. And my scalp is the ticket." I stared at him, my throat tight. "So you're just going to let her win? Let her stand up there and call you a crook for $200? Let her talk," Dad said, his voice hardening. "Words don't change who I am. But you keep digging. You find out why she really wants this. Why she's so damn eager to hang a man she had dinner with last Thanksgiving. Something's not right there, boy. I know my girl. I mean, I thought I did. She's never been this cold. There's something bigger underneath all this." He stood up, the chains on his ankles clinking. The guard motioned for him to move. He paused, looking back at me. "Don't do it for me, Alaric. Do it because you're a man who can't stand a liar. And that woman out there, she's the biggest liar I ever met." I watched him walk away, his shoulders hunched. I sat there for a long time, the hum of the lights filling the silence. I thought about the clip I'd just watched that morning. Her tears, her righteous indignation. And I thought about my father, sitting in a cell for a $200 accounting error that Kasia had turned into a federal case. I pulled out my phone and opened a blank document. My fingers hovered over the keys. Then I started typing. Not a story for the paper. I was too close, and she'd already made sure I couldn't publish anything legitimate. I was typing notes, names, dates, the timeline of her meteoric rise, the cases she'd fast-tracked, the ones she'd quietly closed. I wasn't just going to fight her anymore. I was going to burn her down. I was going to find a rod at the center of her justice, and I was going to drag it into the light. For my father, for the truth, and for the sheer, unadulterated pleasure of watching the justice goddess fall from her pedestal. I looked at the screen and typed the first line of what would become her obituary. The price of her ambition was $200. The cost of her betrayal will be everything. I saved the file, closed my laptop, and walked out into the cold afternoon. The war had started, and I was done playing by her rules. The memory fades, and I'm back in my shitty office above the laundromat. The washer downstairs hits the spin cycle, making the floor vibrate. I look at the email on my screen. The attachment is there. The audio file. 30 years of prison in digital form. I think about what Dad said that day in the visitation room. Find out why she really wants this. I know why now. I know about the $8 million. I know about Thaddeus. And I know that the $200 was never about justice. It was about building a brand. It was about creating a shield so strong that no one would ever suspect her of the real crimes. I hover over the send button. My thumb aches from the tension. I imagine her face when she hears the notification. That moment of confusion, then dawning horror as she realizes the husband she tried to silence just ended her. I click send. The whoosh of the sent email Sounds like a gunshot in the quiet room. I lean back, close my eyes, and for the first time in 2 years, I can breathe. The game is afoot, Mrs. Monroe, and the goddess is about to learn that even gods can bleed. I open a fresh bottle of cheap whiskey and pour a glass. Here's to the truth. It's been a long time coming, and it's going to be one hell of a ride. The first call comes an hour later. It's my editor at the Post, the one who didn't fire me, but couldn't keep me either. His voice is tight, panicked. Alaric, what the fuck did you just do? I did my job, Ben, I say, taking a slow sip of whiskey. I reported the truth. Reported it? You just nuked the special prosecutor. The Attorney General's office is already calling it a malicious fabrication. They're saying you're a vengeful ex-husband with a grudge. They're going to come for you, Alaric, like federal agents at your door in 10 minutes coming for you. I smile cold, hard thing. Let them come, because the truth has a funny way of sticking around, Ben. And this time, the justice goddess isn't going to be able to hide behind her tears. I hang up before he can reply. I know he's right. They're going to come for me. They're going to raid my apartment, freeze my remaining accounts, and try to paint me as a lunatic. But it won't matter. The file isn't just in one place anymore. It's out there, in the cloud, on servers in 3 different countries, with 3 different journalists I trust. Cash's reign of terror is over. She just doesn't know it yet. I hear a car pull up outside. Black SUVs. No sirens. Just the quiet purr of government-issued tires. I finish my whiskey and stand up, straightening my shirt. I walk to the window and look down. 2 agents are getting out, looking up at my window. One of them is the same guy who arrested my father. I wave at him, a slow, deliberate gesture. He stops, his hand hovering near his holster. I can almost see the confusion on his face. The man he helped put in cuffs is now the man holding the rope that will hang his boss. I turn away from the window and face the door. Let them come. I'm ready. The first chapter of this story is over. The final chapter of hers is about to begin. And this time, Justice won't be wearing a designer pantsuit. It'll be wearing handcuffs. I hear their boots on the stairs. Heavy, rhythmic. I take a deep breath and wait. The sound is the soundtrack to her downfall. And I've never heard a sweeter song. The knock comes, sharp and authoritative. I don't answer. I just stand there, waiting for them to break it down. I want them to. I want the drama. I want the photos of me being led away. It'll only add to the legend. The man who took down the justice goddess with a single click of a mouse. The door splinters. They rush in, guns drawn. I don't flinch. I just look at the lead agent, the same one from before. You're late, I say. He doesn't smile. He reads me my rights, his voice monotone. They cuff me, the same cold metal that bound my father. As they lead me down the stairs, past the gawking owner of the laundromat, I look up at the sky. It's a clear, blue Washington day. The kind of day that lies about the corruption festering beneath it. But not today. Today, the lies are ending. Today, the truth begins. As they push me into the back of the SUV, I catch a glimpse of myself in the tinted window. I look tired, older than my 35 years. But my eyes are clear. For the first time since that Tuesday in Ashland, I know exactly who I am and what I'm doing. I'm Alaric Quinn, and I'm the man who killed the goddess. The door slams shut, plunging me into darkness. But it's a darkness I chose. And somewhere, in a big house in Georgetown, Kasha Monroe is realizing that her perfect world just shattered. The ride to the federal building is silent. I lean my head back against the seat and close my eyes. I'm not thinking about the charges or the lawyers or the year-long battle ahead. I'm thinking about my father, sitting in his cell, listening to the radio. I hope someone tells him. I hope he knows that his son didn't just roll over. His son fought back. And I hope, when she's sitting in her own cell in 30 years, Kasha remembers the $200. And she remembers that it was never about the money. It was about the principle. It was about the fact that you can't buy justice. Not even with $8 million. The SUV hits a pothole, jolting me. I open my eyes and look at the agent sitting across from me. He's avoiding my gaze. He knows. They all know. This isn't just another arrest. This is the beginning of the end for the Monroe era. I smile. A real smile this time. The first one in years. Game on, Kasha. Game on. The fluorescent lights in the holding cell buzz like a nest of angry hornets. I'm sitting on a concrete bench that smells like bleach and piss, and I'm smiling. The agent who booked me, Johnson, the one with the thin lips and the thinner patience, keeps glancing at the monitor in the hallway like he's waiting for the world to end. He's not wrong. My public defender, a kid named Ramirez who looks like he's still paying off his law school loans, is leaning against the bars. He's trying to look optimistic, but his eyes are wide with panic. Alaric, Listen to me, Ramirez whispers, his voice cracking. They're charging you with unlawful interception of oral communications, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and a bunch of other shit that could add up to 20 years. The U.S. Attorney's Office is already calling this a vendetta. We need to get ahead of this. Did you actually record her? I stretch my legs out, the chains on my ankles clanking against the concrete. Did I record the special prosecutor admitting to felony obstruction and bribery? Yeah, kid, I did. Ramirez runs a hand through his greasy hair. Okay, that's huge. But they're saying it's a deep fake. Protect people are already putting out statements about metadata inconsistencies. If it's not admissible, you're cooked. And if it is real, they're going to bury you so deep they'll need a mining drill to find the body. I lean forward, the metal of the cuffs biting into my wrists. It's not a deep fake, Ramirez. It's the truth. And the truth has a way of getting out, even when the Justice Department is trying to cork the bottle. I nod toward the TV bolted to the wall in the guard station. One of the agents has it muted, but the crawl at the bottom is moving fast. Breaking. Explosive allegations against Special Prosecutor Monroe. National News Network releases controversial audio tape. I see Cash's face flash on the screen, that same practiced look of wounded dignity she used when they arrested my dad. Only this time, the headline reads Federal Probe launched into Monroe's office. Johnson walks over, his boots heavy on the floor. He unlocks the cell door and jerks his thumb. Quinn, you've got a visitor, and it ain't your wife. I stand up slowly, my joints stiff. I follow him down the hall, past the rows of cells. The other detainees are quiet, watching. Word travels fast in a place like this. They know who I am. I'm the guy who took down the Justice Goddess. I'm a celebrity in a room full of nobodies. He leads me to a small interview room. Sitting at the metal table is not a cop or a lawyer. It's Marcus Thorne, the executive editor of the National Watchdog Journal, the guy who published the tape. He's nursing a cup of terrible coffee, his face grim. Alaric, he says, not bothering to stand. You look like hell. Good morning to you too, Marcus. I sit down, the chains rattling. Tell me the server's held. Marcus takes a sip, his eyes never leaving mine. Held? They crashed from the traffic. We mirrored it on 7 different clouds before the DOJ even knew what hit them. It's everywhere, Alaric. Twitter, TikTok, every news desk from here to California. The White House is doing damage control. The AG's office is in meltdown. And Kasha? He smirks, a cold, hard expression. Last I heard, she was screaming at her deputy in her office, demanding they trace the leak. Then she tried to issue a statement calling it a gross misrepresentation and a personal attack, but her own comms director talked her out of it. She's losing control, Alaric. Fast. I lean back, the metal chair screeching. She's not going to go down easy. She'll fight. She'll lie. She'll use every tool she has to bury this. She's already frozen my accounts and got me fired. Now she's trying to put me in a hole. Marcus nods, which is why we need to move fast. We've got the raw audio, but we need the paper trail, the bank records, the shell companies, the stuff you were digging into before she shut you down. If we can connect the $8 million to her directly, she's finished. Not just disbarred, finished. I tap my finger on the table. Thaddeus Crane. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Her ex? The fixer? You think he's the key? I know he is. He's the one who moved the money. He's the one she's been protecting. The $200 bust of my dad wasn't just a photo op. Marcus. It was a shield. She built her entire I'm untouchable because I'm incorruptible brand on sending an innocent man to prison. It made her bulletproof. No one would suspect the woman who jailed her own father-in-law of taking an $8 million bribe. Marcus whistles low. Jesus, that's next-level sociopathic. You're telling me she ruined your family's life just to create a cover for her boyfriend's corruption? Ex-boyfriend. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you. I lean in, lower my voice. She admitted it, Marcus, on the tape. She said my father was a gift, a 2-bit mayor who made a paperwork error. She used him to buy her credibility so she could kill the real investigation. Marcus is silent for a long moment, processing. Then he pulls out a burner phone and slides it across the table. We can't get you a phone, but we can give you this. Use it to contact me. Don't talk to anyone else. Not your mom, not your brother. And for God's sake, don't talk to the FBI without me present. They're going to try to flip you, offer you a deal to testify against her. Don't take it. We don't need you to testify. We need the evidence. I pick up the phone. It's light, cheap, but it represents a lifeline. What about my dad? We're working on it. My legal team is already filing motions to vacate his conviction based on prosecutorial misconduct. It's not going to happen overnight, but the judge who sentenced him is already under pressure to review the case. Cash's threats to the coach are going to come out. Your dad's going to walk, Alaric. I promise you that. I gnaw out a lump in my throat. I think about Dad in his cell, listening to the radio, probably hearing his son's name being dragged through the mud. I hope he knows I'm fighting for him. I hope he knows this isn't just about revenge. It's about redemption. Johnson comes back in, his face red. Time's up, Thorne. Get out. Marcus stands up, buttoning his suit jacket. He looks down at me, his expression serious. Stay sharp, Alaric. They're going to come at you hard. But you've already won the first round. The truth is out there now, and it's got our name on it. He leaves. Johnson uncuffs me from the table and yanks me to my feet. Let's go, smart guy. You've got a date with a federal magistrate. The arraignment is a blur. The prosecutor, a sharp-faced woman named Lassiter, argues for no bail, citing flight risk and danger to the community. My lawyer, Ramirez, stammers out a weak objection. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman with a gavel like a hammer, sets bail at $250,000, a number designed to keep me locked up. Marcus must have posted it before I even got back to the cell, because an hour later, I'm walking out the door, blinking in the sunlight. I don't go home. I don't go to my mom's. I go to a shitty motel off Route 1 that rents rooms by the week. Marcus has already checked me in under a fake name. I sit on the edge of the bed, the thin blanket scratchy against my skin, and I turn on the TV. Every channel is the same. Cash's press conference from 2 years ago, played on a loop. Her tears, her righteous words, and then, cutting through it like a knife, the audio of her cold, calculating voice from my recording. Your father was a gift. He was the price of doing business. The contrast is devastating. The justice goddess is a myth. The real Casha Monroe is a cynical, ambitious operator who used the law as a weapon to enrich herself and her friends. The comment sections are exploding. Hashtag Justice for Quinn is trending. Hashtag Monroe lied is everywhere. My phone buzzes. It's a text from a number I don't recognize. It's a single line. Enjoying the view from the gutter, Quinn? I know who it's from. Thaddeus Crane, the smug bastard. I text back. Better the gutter than a cell. Which is where you're headed? Thad. The response is immediate. You're delusional. You have no proof. Just a sad little recording of your wife having a bad day. The $8 million? Never happened. And if you keep digging, you're going to find that the gutter has a very deep, very permanent bottom. I smile. He's scared. He's threatening me because he knows I'm right. I text back. The money trail is there, Thad. I found the shells. I found the accounts. I know about the energy contracts in West Virginia. I know about the judge in Delaware. And I know about the beach house in Rehoboth that's not in Cash's financial disclosures. How much of that $8 million bought that, Thad? Or was that just a little thank you gift for keeping your name out of the indictment? The dots appear, then disappear. Then they appear again. Finally, the text comes. You're playing a game you don't understand. Your father is in jail because he didn't have a prosecutor willing to burn the world for him. I do, and she's currently figuring out how to make you disappear. Permanently. Walk away, Quinn, while you still can. I stare at the screen. My heart is pounding, but my hands are steady. He's right about one thing. Casha is figuring out how to make me disappear, but he's wrong about the rest. I'm not playing a game I don't understand. I invented the game. I've spent the last 2 years learning every rule, every loophole, every dirty trick in her playbook, and I'm about to use them all against her. I text back one last time. The world's already burning, Thad, and I'm holding the match. See you in court. I turn off the phone and toss it on the bed. I walk over to the window and look out at the neon sign of the motel flickering in the twilight. I think about Casha sitting in her big house in Georgetown, probably drinking a glass of very expensive wine, trying to figure out which lie to tell next. She's going to deny everything. She's going to claim the tape was altered. She's going to try to discredit me, call me a bitter ex-husband, a failed journalist, a traitor to my country. But it won't work, because the truth is a virus, and it's already infected the system. The audio is out there. The witnesses are talking. The coach, the accountant, the low-level staffers she bullied and threatened. They're all starting to realize that the shield has fallen. They're starting to realize that they don't have to be afraid of her anymore. I pull out my laptop, the one Marcus gave me, and open the encrypted folder. Inside are the files I've been gathering for months. The bank records I dug up from the Cayman Islands. The corporate filings from Delaware. The emails between Thaddeus and Cash's chief of staff. It's not enough yet, not for a conviction, but it's a start. And with the audio tape as a roadmap, the FBI, the real FBI, not Cash's hand-picked goons, will be able to follow the money straight to her door. I start typing. A new story. Not for the Post. Not for the Watchdog. This one is for the history books. I'm documenting everything. Every lie, every bribe, every threat. I'm building a case that even a corrupt judge won't be able to ignore. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Marcus. FBI just raided Monroe's office. They've seized her computers and files. The independent counsel has been appointed. It's happening, Alaric. It's really happening. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. I think about my father. I think about the $200. I think about the $8 million. And I think about the look on Cash's face when she realizes that the man she tried to destroy is the one who's going to send her to prison for the rest of her life. I open my eyes and look at the screen. I type the headline for my news story. The Fall of the Justice Goddess. How an $8 million lie destroyed a legacy. I hit save. The war is far from over. Kasha will fight like a cornered animal. She'll use every connection, every favor, every ounce of her considerable charm to survive. But she's already lost because she forgot the first rule of power. You can't build a kingdom on a foundation of lies. Eventually, the ground gives way. And for Kasha Monroe, the ground just gave way. I'm standing in the crater, and I'm not moving until she's buried in it. I hear a car pull up outside. I look out the window. It's a black sedan, not an SUV. Two men in suits get out. They don't look like FBI. They look like private security. Thaddeus's men. I smile. Let them come. I'm ready for them. I've got nothing left to lose, and they've got everything to lose. And in this game, that makes me the most dangerous man in Washington. I close the laptop and wait. The knock on the door is soft, almost polite. I don't answer. I just sit there in the dim light of the motel room, and I wait for the next move. The game is afoot, and the goddess is about to learn that even gods can bleed. And this time, the bleeding isn't going to stop. The safe house in Arlington smells like old carpet and gunpowder. Marcus's people set it up. A nondescript condo owned by a lobbyist who owes the Journal too many favors to say no. I haven't slept in 36 hours. My eyes feel like they've been rubbed with sandpaper, but the adrenaline is keeping me upright. The burner phone on the coffee table vibrates again. It's been doing that every 5 minutes since the audio dropped. I flip it over. Unknown number. Again, I answer it, pressing it to my ear without speaking. I can hear her breathing on the other end. It's controlled, measured, but there's a rasp there she can't quite hide. She's been smoking. Kasha quit 5 years ago, but stress always brings the cancer sticks back. You always were a stubborn son of a bitch, Alaric, she says. Her voice is low, devoid of the public performance. This is just Kasha. Cold, stripped-down Kasha. Takes one to know one. Cassie, I say, keeping my tone flat. I walk to the window, peeling back the blind just enough to see the street. No black SUVs. Not yet. Calling to threaten me again? Or are we finally going to skip the foreplay? A pause, then a dry, humorless laugh. Foreplay? Is that what you call destroying my career, ruining our marriage, and possibly getting me indicted? You've always had a flair for the dramatic, Ricky. Even when we were kids. Don't call me that. I snap. Hearing my childhood nickname from her mouth feels like a violation. And let's not pretend this is about us. This is about the 8 million. This is about Thaddeus. This is about you selling your soul for a beach house and a shot at the Attorney General's office. I hear the strike of a lighter. The inhale, the slow exhale. You don't know what you're talking about. That tape is a hack job, a manipulation. My lawyers are already preparing a motion to have it excluded. The metadata is a mess. The metadata is clean, and you know it. I shoot back. You're not worried about the tape. You're worried about what's underneath it. You're worried about the paper trail you thought you buried. The shell companies in Delaware. The transfers to the judge in Wheeling. The real estate deals in Rehoboth that aren't in your financial disclosures. Silence. The kind of silence that comes right before a predator decides to pounce or run. Where did you get that information? She asks, her voice dangerously quiet. Does it matter? It's out there now. The FBI has subpoenaed the bank records. They're looking at Thaddeus's phone. He's already lawyered up, but he's scared, Kasha. I saw him yesterday. He's not thinking about protecting you. He's thinking about saving his own ass. I can practically hear her teeth grinding. Thaddeus is irrelevant. He's a means to an end. He always was. Is that what you tell yourself? I laugh, a harsh, bitter sound. That you weren't sleeping with him while you were prosecuting my father? That the money he was funneling into your secret accounts was just… what? A consulting fee? You used me, Kasha. You used my father. You used this entire city as a prop for your fucking morality play. Watch your mouth. She hisses. For a second, the ice cracks, and I hear the fury underneath. You have no idea what you've unleashed. You're playing checkers in a room full of people playing 3D chess. The system isn't built to handle the truth, Alaric. It's built to manage the lie, and you just kicked over the board. I'm counting on it, I say. I move away from the window, pacing the length of the small living room. That's why I called you. I want to meet. Another pause. This one longer. I can hear her mind working, calculating the angles. You're out of your mind. I'm not meeting you. You're a liability. You're a target. My office is already drafting a warrant for your arrest on charges of espionage and cyber terrorism. Go ahead. Issue it. See how that plays with the judge who's already looking at your sealed records. The one where you threatened the coach. The one where you doctored the evidence against my dad. You think issuing a warrant for your husband, your ex-husband, is going to make you look like a victim? It's going to look like a cover-up. And we both know the press loves a cover-up more than they love a justice goddess. She's breathing heavier now. I've hit a nerve. What do you want, Alaric? Money? A deal? You want me to drop the charges against your father? Fine, I'll do it. I'll vacate the conviction tomorrow. Just give me the original files. All of them. The recordings, the bank data, the names of your sources. Give me that. And I'll make sure your father walks free and you don't spend the next decade in a supermax. I smile. It's exactly the opening I needed. I don't want a deal, Kasia. I want the truth. I want you to admit it, face to face. I want you to tell me why you did it. Why you chose Thaddeus and his 8 million over your own family. Over everything you claim to believe in. You want a confession? She says, her voice dripping with contempt. Is that it? You want to play confessor? Fine, I'll give you your confession. But not in some crowded courthouse or a leaky motel room. I'll meet you at the house. Our house. In Georgetown. Midnight. Just you. No phones. No recorders. Just us. And if I see a single FBI car, a single reporter, or a single wire, I walk. And I promise you, Alaric, you will never see the inside of a newsroom again. You'll be a ghost. She hangs up before I can respond. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, my pulse hammering in my neck. It's a trap. It has to be. She's going to try to kill me, or have me killed, or at least have me arrested the second I step through the door. But it's also the only chance I have to get her to say it out loud, without the filter of her office, without the shield of her title. I look at the clock. 8:47 p.m. 3 hours and 13 minutes. I spend the next 2 hours prepping. I don't trust the burner phone. I go to the hardware store Marcus told me about and buy a cheap Wi-Fi router, a Raspberry Pi, and a few other components. I'm no tech genius, but I know enough. I set up a remote server connection, routing the audio through 3 different encrypted layers. I hide a tiny, high-gain microphone in the button of an old coat I haven't worn in years. It's analog, not digital. No Bluetooth signal to trace. It'll transmit to a receiver I'll hide in my bag, which will then bounce the signal to the server. If she searches me, she'll find the receiver. But she won't search the coat. She knows that coat. It's the one I wore on our first date. At 11:30, I leave the condo. I drive a stolen Honda Civic. Another favor from Marcus's network. I take surface streets, avoiding the highways, checking my mirrors every 30 seconds. Notas. Not that I can see. Anyway, Kasia has resources I can't even imagine. I pull up to the Georgetown house at 11:58. The street is dark, the historic brownstones quiet. Her car is in the driveway, a black Audi S7. Expensive, sleek, and completely out of place for a public servant salary. Another thing the ethics committee missed, or chose to ignore. I sit in the car for 2 minutes, my hand on the gear shift. My heart is trying to punch its way out of my chest. This is it, the moment of truth. Literally, I get out, locking the car behind me. I walk up the steps to the front door. It's unlocked. I push it open and step inside. The house smells the same. Expensive candles and lemon polish. It's dark, except for a single lamp in the living room. She's sitting on the couch, a glass of scotch in her hand. She's changed out of her suit into black slacks and a silk blouse. Her hair is down, falling over her shoulders. She looks tired. The makeup is gone. The carefully constructed mask slipped. She looks human, and that's somehow more terrifying. She doesn't look up as I enter. Close the door, Alaric, and lose the bag. I'm not an idiot. I do as she says, dropping the bag by the door. I keep my hands visible. She finally looks up, her eyes cold and sharp in the lamplight. She scans me, her gaze lingering on my coat. She doesn't notice the bulge of the mic good. You look like hell, she says, taking a sip of her drink. Prison food doesn't agree with you? I've looked worse, I say, walking slowly into the room. I stay near the door, keeping distance between us. You look like you've been sleeping better than I have. Must be nice, knowing you've got the whole system rigged in your favor. She smiles, a thin, cruel curve of her lips. The system isn't rigged, Ricky. It's just manageable. Everything is a transaction. Every vote, every indictment, every tear shed on camera. It's all currency. And I've always been very good at managing currency. Is that what Thaddeus is? Currency? I ask, leaning against the wall. $8 million in untraceable funds? What was the exchange rate on your soul these days, Cassie? Her smile vanishes. She sets the glass down on the coffee table with a sharp clink. Don't you dare stand there and judge me. You, with your sanctimonious little articles and your bleeding heart editorials. You think you're so much better than me? You think the world is some clean, fair place where the good guys win? I think the good guys don't frame their own father-in-law for a $200 paperwork error to score political points. I fire back. I think the good guys don't take bribes from their ex-boyfriends to bury multi-million-dollar corruption cases. I think the good guys don't use the FBI as their personal cleanup crew. Your father was a means to an end. She shouts, suddenly on her feet. The ice is gone now, replaced by raw, unfiltered rage. He was a gift. A perfect, pathetic, small-town mayor who made a stupid, small-time mistake. Do you have any idea what it did for my profile? The justice goddess who wouldn't even spare her own family? It made me bulletproof. It made me a legend. No one would ever question my integrity after that. It bought me the credibility to do the real work. The real work? I laugh, shaking my head. You mean the work of covering up Thaddeus's crimes? The work of laundering his money through the energy contracts in West Virginia? The work of appointing judges who would look the other way? She takes a step toward me, her eyes blazing. Thaddeus is a necessary evil. He controls the flow. Alaric. He controls the money that keeps this entire rotting structure from collapsing. If he goes down, half the Senate goes with him. The markets crash. The government shuts down. People lose their jobs, their homes, their lives. I didn't do it for me. I did it for stability. I did it to keep the lights on. Bullshit, I say, my voice low and hard. You did it for the beach house. You did it for the promotions. You did it because you loved the taste of power more than you ever loved me, or my father, or the law. Admit it, Kasia. You didn't prosecute my dad because he was guilty. You prosecuted him because he was convenient. He was a $200 down payment on your future. She stops in her tracks, her chest heaving. For a long moment, she just stares at me, her face a mask of pure hatred. Then, slowly, the anger drains away, replaced by something colder, more calculating. She picks up her glass again, swirling the amber liquid. Fine, she says, her voice eerily calm. You want the truth? Here's the truth. Your father was a nobody, a small fish in a small pond who got lucky and stayed lucky for 20 years. He was a prop, Alaric, a character in a story I was writing, and the story needed a sacrifice. It needed a moment of righteous indignation to sell the brand. His $200 was the best investment I ever made. It bought me the trust of the entire nation, and that trust that allowed me to protect the people who actually matter, the people with real money, real power, men like Thaddeus. She takes a long drink, her eyes never leaving mine. You want to know about the $8 million? It was never about the money. It was about the access. It was about ensuring that certain projects got approved, certain permits were signed, and certain investigations went nowhere. Thaddeus provided the capital. I provided the shield. And in return, I got a lifestyle that my government salary could never afford. The house in Rehoboth? Paid for. The renovations on this place? Paid for. My sister's medical bills? Taken care of. I didn't steal. Alaric. I curated. I managed the flow of power. And your father's conviction was the cornerstone of that management. She leans forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. So yes, I hid Thaddeus's bribe. I buried the evidence. I threatened witnesses. I falsified records. And I do it again. Because in this world, justice isn't blind. It's just another commodity. And I was the one setting the price. She straightens up, smoothing her blouse. There. Is that the confession you wanted? Are you happy now, Ricky? You've destroyed everything we built. You've turned me into a villain. But guess what? Villains win. Because villains understand the game. And heroes like you? Heroes always end up in the dirt, wondering why their principles didn't save them. She walks toward me, stopping just a foot away. She reaches out, her hand brushing my cheek. Her touch is cold. You should have taken the deal. You should have walked away. But you didn't. And now you're going to watch everything you love burn, starting with your father's legacy and ending with you. She turns and walks back to the couch, picking up her glass. She doesn't look back. Get out, Alaric, and don't ever come back. The next time I see you, it'll be through the glass of a visitor's booth at a federal penitentiary. And this time, there won't be any reporters to save you. I stand there for a long moment, my heart pounding, my skin crawling from her touch. I've got it. The whole thing. Every word. Every admission. The recording is solid. The trap has been sprung, and she walked right into it. I turn and walk out the door without a word. I don't look back. I get into the stolen Civic and drive away, my hands shaking on the wheel. I pull over a block away, killing the engine. I pull out the burner phone and check the connection to the server. The file is there, uploaded, encrypted, sent to Marcus, to the Journal, to the FBI's public corruption tip line, and to 3 different congressional oversight committees. I lean my head against the steering wheel and close my eyes. I'm not relieved. I'm not satisfied. I just feel hollow and tired, so incredibly tired. But it's done. The goddess has confessed, and now the world gets to hear her sins. I start the car and pull back onto the street. I drive toward the safe house, the weight of the recording heavy in my pocket. The war isn't over. Kasia will fight. She'll lie. She'll cheat. She'll try to destroy the evidence. But it won't matter. The truth is out there now, and it's got her voice all over it. I think about her last words. Villains win. Maybe she's right. Maybe in the short term, the villains always seem to win. But I'm betting on the long game. I'm betting on the fact that even in a rigged system, the truth eventually finds a way to surface. And when it does, it's going to drown her. I drive through the dark, empty streets of Georgetown, leaving the ghost of my marriage behind. The house is just a building now, a set for a performance that's finally over. The real show is just beginning. And this time, I'm not in the audience. I'm the one pulling the strings. I checked the phone one last time. A text from Marcus. Got it. It's perfect. The FBI just confirmed the raid on Crane's office. It's happening, Alaric. It's really happening. I smile. A real smile this time. Small but genuine. Game over, Kasia. You played yourself. The federal courthouse in D.C. smells like lemon polish and stale fear. I'm sitting in the front row of the gallery, behind the prosecution table. The room is packed. Every media outlet in the country is here. The sound of camera shutters clicking is like a swarm of locusts. I don't look back at them. I'm focused on the door to the holding cells. She comes through it in an orange jumpsuit, her hands cuffed in front of her. Her hair is pulled back in a tight, unflattering bun. No makeup. The justice goddess is gone. This is just Cassandra Monroe, defendant. She doesn't look at me. She keeps her eyes straight ahead, her chin high, trying to maintain what's left of her dignity. But I can see the tremor in her jaw, the sweat beading at her hairline. She knows this is it. Her defense attorney, a high-priced shark named Greaves, leans over and whispers something to her. She doesn't react. The prosecutor, a no-nonsense career DOJ guy named Hanrahan, is organizing his files, his face a mask of professional satisfaction. He got the easiest case of his career, thanks to me. The judge, an elderly black woman named Mendoza, enters. We all stand. She doesn't waste time on pleasantries. Be seated. We are here for the sentencing of Cassandra Monroe, former special prosecutor. Ms. Monroe, please rise. Kasia stands on shaky legs. The marshal has to steady her elbow. She finally looks at me then. Her eyes are hard, cold, filled with a hatred so pure it could melt steel. I meet her gaze and don't blink. I've been waiting 2 years for this look. It's better than I imagined. Hanrahan starts. Your Honor, the government has presented overwhelming evidence of the defendant's systematic abuse of power. From the obstruction of justice in the Thaddeus Crane investigation, to the coercion of witnesses in the Edmund Quinn case, to the outright fabrication of evidence. The defendant didn't just break the law. She used the law as a weapon to protect her own criminal enterprise. The recommended sentencing guidelines suggest a term of 30 years to life. The government concurs. Greaves clears his throat, standing up. He looks nervous. He's used to winning, but there's no winning here. Your Honor, my client maintains her innocence regarding the allegations of bribery and conspiracy. The audio recording presented by the government was obtained illegally and under duress. Furthermore, Ms. Monroe has dedicated her life to public service. Her actions, however misguided, were taken in the belief that she was preserving systemic stability. We asked for leniency. Leniency? I hear myself say. It comes out louder than I intended. The judge looks at me sharply. Your Honor, may I speak? Judge Mendoza nods. Mr. Quinn, you are recognized as a victim impact speaker. I stand up. I don't look at the gallery, at the cameras, or at the prosecutors. I look only at Kasia. I walk to the front, standing a few feet from her. I can see her chest heaving now, her nostrils flaring. Your Honor, I say, my voice steady. Mr. Greaves talks about systemic stability. He talks about public service. But let's be clear about what that means. It means my father, a man who served his community for 20 years without a single complaint, spent 18 months in a federal prison for a $200 accounting error that the defendant here orchestrated into a felony. It means she threatened a high school football coach in a perjury to secure that conviction. It means she used her own family as a pawn in a game to hide an $8 million bribe from her ex-boyfriend, a man who is actively corrupting the highest levels of our government. I take a step closer to Kasia. She looks away, but I force her to look back by leaning into her line of sight. And then, when I started asking questions, she used her office to destroy my career, freeze my assets, and try to have me imprisoned on fabricated charges. This isn't about a mistake, Your Honor. This is about a calculated, cold-blooded campaign to pervert the course of justice for personal gain and political power. Leniency? She doesn't deserve leniency. She deserves to wear that orange jumpsuit for every day of the 30 years she tried to steal from the truth. I turned back to the judge. She called herself the justice goddess. But the only altar she worshipped was the altar of her own ambition. She sold justice to the highest bidder, and the price tag was $8 million. My father's freedom was just collateral damage in a transaction she thought she could get away with forever. I sit down. The gallery is silent. Even the cameras have stopped clicking. Judge Mendoza is looking at Kasia, her expression unreadable. Ms. Monroe, the judge says, "Do you have anything to say for yourself before I impose sentencing?" Kasia finally moves. She shifts her weight, the chains on her wrists clinking. She looks at her lawyer, then at the judge, and finally, her eyes land back on me. For a second, the mask of the cold prosecutor drops. I see something else. Fear, regret, maybe even a flicker of the woman I once loved. But it's gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by that familiar, venomous arrogance. "I do, Your Honor," she says, her voice raspy but gaining strength. She doesn't look at the judge. She looks directly at me. "Alaric, you self-righteous, sanctimonious hypocrite. You stand there and talk about truth and justice? You destroyed your own wife to avenge a $200 mistake. You ruined my career, my reputation, my life, all because your ego couldn't handle the fact that I was the one with the power, that I was the one who mattered." She leans forward, her cuffed hands gripping the edge of the table. "You think you've won? You think putting me in a cage is a victory? You've destroyed the only person who ever truly understood you. You've traded a future of influence and power for what? A dead-end job at a tabloid, and a father who will never be the same? Was it worth it, Alaric? Was it worth burning down everything we built over $200? I stand back up. I don't wait for the judge to tell me I can speak. I walk right up to the barrier separating us. My voice is low, but it cuts through the tension in the room like a blade. "It wasn't about the $200. Kasia," I say, enunciating every word. I see her flinch. "It was never about the money. It was about what you became to get it. You didn't just take a bribe. You murdered the truth. You used the law to create injustice. You looked me in the eye and told me you loved me while you were burying the evidence that would have freed my father. You didn't just hide an $8 million crime. You turned justice into a commodity with a price tag." I lean in closer, lowering my voice so only she can hear. "You want to know if it was worth it? Yes, it was worth every second of hell you put me through. Because I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I couldn't stand to live in a world where you got away with it, where the justice goddess was actually a thief and a liar. You didn't destroy me, Kasia. You destroyed yourself. You just didn't realize it until now." I pull back, looking at her face. It's crumbling. The anger is fading, replaced by a naked, desperate panic. She finally understands. She finally realizes that the shield she built with my father's conviction didn't protect her. It was the very thing that doomed her. The irony is a noose around her neck. Judge Mendoza speaks, her voice cutting through the silence. "Ms. Monroe, I have reviewed the pre-sentence report, the evidence presented at trial, and the arguments made today. Your conduct represents a profound betrayal of the public trust. As a former officer of the court, you were sworn to uphold the law, not manipulate it for personal gain. The scale of your corruption is staggering." She pauses, looking down her notes. "The probation office recommends a sentence of 30 years. Having considered the nature and circumstances of the offenses, the history and characteristics of the defendant, and the need to provide just punishment, deterrence, and protection of the public, I find that recommendation to be appropriate." Kasia closes her eyes. A single tear escapes, tracking down her cheek. It's not the practiced tear of a press conference. It's the tear of a woman who knows she's lost everything. Therefore, the judge continues, "It is the sentence of this court that you be committed to the custody of the Bureau of Prisons for a term of 360 months, 30 years, on each count to be served concurrently. You will also forfeit all assets derived from your criminal conduct and pay restitution in the amount of $8 million. This sentence is final." The gavel comes down. Bang! It echoes in the silent courtroom. It sounds like a gunshot. Two marshals move in, grabbing Kasha's arms. She doesn't resist. She just lets them lead her away. As they turn her toward the door, she looks back at me one last time. There's no more hatred in her eyes, just a vast, empty void, and maybe, just maybe, a glimmer of understanding. I don't look away. I hold her gaze until she's gone through the door and the sound of her shackles fades down the hall. The courtroom erupts. Reporters are shouting over each other. Hanrahan comes over and shakes my hand, congratulating me. Greaves is already packing his briefcase, avoiding my eyes. I ignore them all. I walk out of the courtroom through the gauntlet of cameras and microphones. I don't stop. I don't comment. I just keep walking. Outside, the sun is bright. I stand on the steps for a moment, taking a deep breath. The air tastes clean. Free. My phone rings. It's Marcus. "You see it?" he asks, his voice ecstatic. "I saw it," I say. "She's done. Finished." The network is already running the Fall of the Goddess special. "Your father's case is being vacated this afternoon. The governor is issuing a full pardon. It's over, Alaric. You did it." I look up at the sky. Yeah, it's over. I hang up. I don't feel the triumph I expected. I don't feel the relief. I just feel empty and tired. So incredibly tired. It's been 2 years of living in the dark, fighting a ghost. And now the ghost is gone, and I'm still here. Alone. I walk down the steps and get into the car Marcus sent for me. We drive to the prison in Petersburg where my father is being held. The process is quick. The pardon is a miracle of bureaucratic speed once the judge's order came through. They bring him out in his civilian clothes. He looks older, frilier, but his eyes are clear. He sees me and stops. "Ricky?" he says, his voice rough. I walk over to him, my throat tight. I don't know what to say, so I just hug him. I hug him hard, feeling his thin frame shake. He hugs me back, his grip surprisingly strong. "It's over, Dad," I whisper. "It's all over. She's gone." He pulls back, looking at my face. He doesn't ask for details. He doesn't need to. He just nods, his eyes filling with tears. "I knew you'd do it, son. I knew you wouldn't let her win." We stand there for a long time, just holding on to each other. The sun is warm on my face. For the first time in 2 years, I feel the warmth reach all the way to my bones. On the drive back to Ashland, we don't talk much. We just listen to the radio. The news is all about Kasha, the end of an era, the fall of a titan. My father doesn't say a word about her. He just stares out the window at the passing countryside, a small, sad smile on his face. When we get to the house, my mom is waiting on the porch. She runs to him, crying. I hang back, watching them. It's a private moment. I don't belong in it anymore. I turn and walk down to the edge of the property, to the old oak tree where I used to climb as a kid. I sit down on the grass, leaning against the trunk. I pull out my phone and look at the news. There's a picture of Kasha being led into the federal detention center. Her head is bowed. She looks broken. I close the app. I don't need to see it anymore. The image is burned into my memory. I think about her question in the courtroom. Was it worth it? I ask myself that now, sitting in the quiet Virginia afternoon. Was it worth losing my wife, my career, my peace of mind? Was it worth the constant fear, the threats, the isolation? I look back at the house. My father is alive. My mother is smiling. The truth is out. The system, for all its flaws, actually worked in the end. Not because it was fair, but because one person, me, refused to let a lie stand. Yeah, it was worth it. I stand up, brushing the grass off my jeans. I walk back toward the house. My mother sees me and waves. My father is sitting on the porch swing, a glass of iced tea in his hand. He looks peaceful. I join them. We sit in silence for a while, just listening to the crickets and the distant hum of a lawnmower. It's the most normal sound I've heard in years. You staying for dinner, Ricky? My mom asks. Yeah, Mom, I say. I'm staying. I look at my father. He looks at me and nods. It's a silent acknowledgement, a shared burden lifted. We don't need to talk about Kasha. We don't need to rehash the nightmare. We're just here, together. The sun starts to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I watch it, feeling the weight of the last 2 years finally, truly begin to lift. The war is over. The goddess is in chains. And I'm just a man sitting on his parents' porch watching the day end. It's not the ending I wanted. It's not the ending I dreamed of when I married her. But it's the ending she earned. And it's the ending I fought for. I take a sip of the iced tea my mom handed me. It's sweet, too sweet, just like the truth always is in the end. I lean back in the chair and close my eyes. For the first time in a long time, I sleep. And I don't dream of courtrooms or recordings or orange jumpsuits. I dream of a quiet afternoon in Ashland with nothing to fight for and nothing to hide. The game is over, and I won. But the real victory isn't the 30 years she got. It's the peace I finally found. And that, Kasha, is something no amount of money could ever buy.